if you have to deal with your parents, I really have compassion for you because I don't live with my parents 24/7, but I still live in the house of my parents where they don't live all the time. And I came back in this house after like 5 years after leaving the house, and thinking that I would never have to come back because I would be financially independent. And so right now I'm not completely, so that's why I'm back home basically. And I just see my parents. Sometimes I have to live with my parents for 1 week or 2 weeks, and I think I'm really lucky that I just have to just like spend a little bit of time with them, because I think there are probably a bunch of people who are old like me, and like old in their 20s, and who still live with their parents all the time. And so what I want to say is, if you're into personal development and you have a hard time with your parents because you're changing, you're starting to get interested in stuff that they might find strange. Your life is changing, your social circle is changing, how you're behaving is changing, and they're very kind of like suspicious, maybe criticize you or something. So what I want to say is like, your parents are basically part of your personal development path, and they are a big part of it, because it's so easy to dismiss just like the aspects of your life that trigger you, and say like, oh, this shouldn't be like this, and just like try to avoid the situation, you know. That's a perspective in which I was, or the mindset in which I was maybe like 1 year ago or something. I thought that by all means I had to try to leave my home and live on my own, and which is a great it's a great goal. But the reason why I wanted to do it was to avoid being with my parents and exposing myself to their opinions and criticism, because it hurts, because your parents are the very persons that you don't want to reject you, because your ego just thinks you're going to die if it happens, because you've been brought up by them, and you have all these limiting beliefs. But your parents, they're just like part of your personal growth journey. There are even people who say that we choose our parents as souls before we incarnate in a body. I believe in this. I don't know if it's true, but it just like feels good for me to believe this, because it empowers me to know that they're just like a part of my path, and they're not something or just like an aspect of my life that's just like, yeah, you know, and that you have to try to avoid. Because I think that I think that if you master the relationship with your parents, you basically master all the other relationships in your life, because uh, it's just like the hardest relationship to manage. But when you start seeing that actually, like for example, my perspective is that life is a dream, so therefore my parents, they're just part of my dream, they're just a part of me, and I have the control over my state of being. When you start seeing stuff like this, for example, uh, you start being way less prompt to being triggered by your parents, because um, it's easy like just to it's just easy when you're triggered to say, oh, they trigger me, and do nothing about it, you know. You have to know, or to try to feel into the feeling that you have when you're with them, when you're sitting at a table having dinner, and when they just wonder what the fuck you're doing with your life. You have to Eckhart Tolle says, what you think the world withholds from you, you withhold from the world. And I think I see that it's true in my own life. I never used to try to understand my parents, and to like help them in a way, or you know, I was always using my parents as a way to protect myself. So I noticed that even right now, when I speak with them, my first impulse is to say something that will make them validate me. And most of the time I notice it, and I don't do that. I just don't talk, or I try to say something that just maybe I feel good about, but that has nothing to do with them validating me. And this is like another thing, you know. If you're in scarcity, or you know, if you have anxiety and you're trying to be validated, when what you're actually doing with the universe, when we say that the universe is everything, that's not you, it's just like a frame. What you're trying to do is you're trying to manipulate the universe into an outcome in order to have the outcome that you want. And the outcome that you want is your parents validating you. And the reason why is because it makes you feel good, because you think that maybe like you're going to die, or it feels so bad, it feels like you're going to die for your ego if they don't accept you. And try to see stuff like this rather than like being just in reaction to your parents. And it's not that easy, because even after like being reading or being interested in personal development for years, I still was not able to just like um, stop being in a reactive mode when I was with my parents. And now for the first time in my life, I am. And it's because I'm present most of the time, and I really try to see them like as it's part of the journey. And so if they're part of the journey, what I have to do is like I have to listen to them. I have to try to understand how they work, what they want, what are their own desires. I basically stop looking at them like parents. You know, I try to look at them like just like people who are really a big part of my life. And now how I want to be with people is I want to be of service to people. I want to be selfless enough and feel good about myself enough to be able to just like stop projecting my own shit onto people. If they project their own shit on me, it's fine, but I want to at least like start being the master of my own vibration, my own mindset, my own emotions, you know. And it's totally achievable. And when you're in it, you know that like you'll have this moment with your parents where you just don't hate them anymore when they like say stuff that triggers you. You're like, it's about me, it's not about them. It's about protecting my own ego. Um it's about survival. But for me, like what feels bad for me is not inherently bad. It just feels bad for me. And I've been thinking that it was inherently bad and saying this is bad and this is bad and this is bad in order to not have to deal with that pain. But when you stop believing this, you have to start dealing with the pain, and you have to start seeing it and seeing that it's your own job to deal with it. No one is ever going to help you or to just like do the job for you, you know, to deal with that pain. So that's how I deal with my parents now. I really see them like they're friends basically, and they're in my life, and I want to help them. I want to understand how they work and just like stop reacting to them and using them as really a tool to grow. Because everyone that triggers you, it's just like a fucking good opportunity to grow. People who criticize you, people who just annoy you, people you're scared of, stop finding excuses and start growing. Start seeing why it hurts. Like the best version of you isn't hurt by that, by all of this. The best version of you doesn't care. It understands, it love like if you were like your best version already, you would love yourself, try to understand yourself, and you would love others and try to understand others rather than just like criticizing or backing off, you know. So that's how I do it. Your parents are part of your personal growth journey, and they're such a fucking important part that it would be stupid to dismiss it. And it would be a coward thing to do, because it's like it's really a hard part, but there's like growth in it. It's terrible, like it's tremendous growth. So I'm even a little bit emotional, like talking about this, and a little bit scared because they're in the house. And a few months ago, I would never be have been able to talk about this and to just like talk with my voice like this loud, and be myself, knowing that they are just in the room next to me. But that's life. That's how you grow, and there are no limits. If you put limits in your life, you'll never like be really happy. Thanks for listening.